Welcome back, everyone, to Merge Conflict, your weekly developer podcast on all things development for developers, talking about development-y things and AI. I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Kruger, and I am over AI. I am AI'd out. James, it's broken me. It took 7 years, but I'm AI'd out.
Okay, so if folks don't know, maybe you're watching this for the first time on the YouTubes, turn into the podcast. First, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share with the friends, do all the things. Frank and I, longtime friends, we've been doing this podcast forever. Every 10 episodes or so, pretty much to a T, except for this one, is a lightning topic podcast where we cover 6 topics, 5 minutes each, mostly submitted by y'all. And yes, the first 2 topics are going to be AI, Frank. So let's just get into it.
Okay.
Shouldn't they call this Google A/I instead of Google I/O?
AEO? Was that a joke? But I'm bump. AEO.
Okay, so I used to go to Google I/O in person, okay? Back in my day, Frank, let me get on my, get off my lawn type of old James mentality here. Back in my day when I used to go to Google I/O, we used to talk about, I took the bus to Cupertino and, okay, so back in my day, we used to talk about building apps, and we don't talk about building apps anymore. We just talk about AI.
No.
And that's all we talk about. That's all we're allowed to talk about. And how AI and integrations and all this stuff. APIs. How much of the Google I/O did you watch? So many images, so many video processing, so much of it.
I have to admit, I didn't watch it live. I did the classic James trick of watching The Verge's 15 minutes, the wrap up of Google I/O in 15 minutes. Honestly, I think it went pretty well. There were a few non sequiturs. I was like, "Whoa, that went a little fast." I could have used a rewind there, but gosh, yeah, it was a lot of AI products. They're putting in the AI into everything. They all have different names. Gemini's doing most of the things, but then they have like playgrounds. They have like 50 different labs.google. That's not a URL. I don't know how you do labs.google unless that is a URL.
Yeah.
Did they get a TLD?
They own .google. Yeah, they own .google.
That's a thing?
Yeah, they own it.
Okay, I retire. I'm out.
I watched the keynote. So the keynotes are always less developer-y, more marketing-y, and that was lots of AI, lots of things that happened. They got the photos, they got the new generation of search. Cool. I watched a developer keynote, which was pretty good. They did talk about, developing things. They talked about Android a tiny bit. They talked about Flutter a tiny bit. They talked about Firebase, which is going to have SQL databases.
What? What do you need for?
Shut your mouth. SQL relational databases. Get out of town. It's also going to have Firebase web app hosting for all of your static web apps because we need yet another place to host our app. So it has a new logo. It has a new Firebase logo emoji. Welcome to 2024. It's very fancy. I was at the Google I/O just a new logo.
Rewind, sir. Rewind. Did they get a new emoji, or are you just saying they support a new emoji?
No.
What's this emoji you're saying? I'm sorry.
Well, the logo is basically the fire emoji.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Roger, sir. I'm
like a new.
I thought for a second, like I'm still drowning in the .google. I thought somehow they got their own emoji.
They got their own emoji. They got their own Google emoji. Okay, no. So what else did they get? They got so Firebase. That Firebase stuff happened. Oh, there's like Firebase AI model. So for Firebase IA things, and then IDX is the thing that's basically VS Code, but the Google version. They have what else do they have? They have Android Studio. That's the other thing. Ooh, important thing for multi-platform development. Kotlin multi-platform. Have you heard about Kotlin multi-platform? They got the thing. Kotlin. It's everywhere. It's all these things. Got things.
Is it the beautiful Android user interface API? Hopefully not. If it's multi-platform, I hope it's a different API for the Kotlin.
It's sort of like you can now. People can write in and correct me because it's been a while since I looked at Kotlin multi-platform, but I believe that it is writing like Kotlin to create cross-platform business logic. And there might be a UI layer, but I'm not 100% sure. I think you create it separately,
Okay.
I think. But what Google said is they're going to do is they're going to start to support their more popular like Android X libraries, like Room and some of their other like database layers. So they're going to support that on Android and iOS now. So you can, share more business logic if you're using Kotlin multi-platform, but then also they also have Flutter. So like, they got lots of cross-platform happening. Oh, Flutter got WebAssembly GA, so that's cool. It's got stuff happening.
You saw more. I missed all the actual mobile development parts of the. Okay, some of those things are actually pretty interesting.
Let me break this down. There's 2 keynotes. Keynote, developer keynote. First keynote, I don't need to watch that. Developer keynote.
I watched the wrong keynote. I do this every day. I taught you that about the Apple event. I'm like, the keynote's the keynote.
State of the platform. State of the platform.
Mm-hmm.
State of the platform.
That's the thing to watch. Yeah. So same trick with Google. Okay, thank you for educating me. It's only been 10 years of us doing this.
Keynote, didn't really care for it. Developer keynote, not bad. Mm-hmm. Not bad, right. Google, not bad. Yeah.
And yeah, they have too many platforms for doing multi-platform, but Flutter's still popular. I think it was trending on Twitter after the conference here, so that's good.
They needed to say something because they laid off a bunch of the Flutter team when they did the latest round of cuts. Yeah, but that's why they needed to say something, and that's why. Right. So it makes sense. All right, let's talk about more AI. In fact, someone scooped them, Frank. Google did a cool thing at their keynote. They brought around. This is the new thing: is they brought around a camera where an AI is analyzing things in real time. It's remembering what it saw. But OpenAI scooped them with a little scoopty of the 4.0 model.
See, that's news to me because I really wasn't sure. Both of these events seemed to happen at the same time, so I wasn't sure who was scooping whom. But yes, both were working on the live camera AI, which cool. Like, I'm here for this. Like, the Vision Pro still won't let me turn the camera on, but all of a sudden I'm going to release the Google AI and the Open AIs on my physical environment. Yeah, I'm down for it. I like the little demo where they like drew an arrow at something and they're like, "What is that?" I think that would be the perfect language learning app. So just take a picture of something, point an arrow, and be like, what is that in a foreign language? And then you could probably increase your vocabulary pretty darn quickly. You could just learn the names of all the things. Anyway, I love that stuff. It is a little bit hilarious that both OpenAI and Google were shooting for the same thing, where you have this live view. Boy, that's going to suck down the bandwidth and the battery uploading all those image embeddings up to the server, but good for them. Good for them. More AI, the better. That's what I say. Bring it on. Robots, war machines. Let's do this.
The cool thing about GPT 4.0, not to be confused with GPT-4, but 4.0. 4.0?
Not 4.0, just 4.0. 4.0 or lowercase o. It's important.
Lowercase o. That's the important part. Not to be confused with uppercase o. Is that it's twice as fast, half the price.
I feel like this is a classic Apple move. Like, we made our process better, so we're going to give you the same thing. It's going to be faster. I don't know about you, but like, it got fast enough like 3 months ago. It got to the point where the chat thing can write faster than I can read. It wasn't always that way. In the early days, you could always keep up with them. But we broke that barrier a while ago. It spit things out pretty darn fast. So I guess if you wanted to write the great American novel in 50,000 words, that would matter. But for me, I felt like GPT-4 was already fast enough, but cheaper. James, they got to make money over there. Microsoft invested a lot in them. They got to turn a profit. So it's good for them that they got that model to run cheaper.
And did you watch the demo of the two chatbots having a conversation with themselves?
Oh gosh, how did I miss that? No,
What?
I was watching the human beings chat with the chatbots.
No, garbage. No, this is the demo. So here's the thing. Google demoed standard somebody talking to a chatbot. That's not
yeah.
No one wants that.
No.
You want a chatbot talking to another chatbot. So here was the demo. I'm going to set it up because you haven't seen it. Crazy that I know more about AI than you right now. There was one chatbot on a phone, and all it could do was listen to, and its prompt was that you're a chatbot and you're listening to another chatbot and having a conversation with it. The other chatbot is able to see the world around you, and you can inquire and get more details. Okay. The other chatbot on another phone is was prompted to say you're having a conversation with another chatbot, and you can see the world all around you, and you can give more information, and then go. And these chatbots started having conversations about the world, and it asked it to like rotate the camera. And then here was the cool part, is that at some point they're having a conversation, and someone like moved in the frame, did like little bunny ears, and then the OpenAI person interjected as the chatbots were talking, and they said, "I just have a question. Did you happen to see something weird go on?" And then the chatbot was like, "Oh yeah, actually just not too long ago, someone came into the frame and started to play a joke on another person, blah, 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 blah," like the whole thing. So they're having these historical memories of, I know memory is the wrong word because it's different, but they were having these historical thought processes about what was happening. And that's sort of what Google did the next day when they asked in the video, they said, "Oh, do you remember where our keys are at?" And they're like, "Oh, it's at your desk next to your Apple, blah, blah, blah," right? Which is hilarious. But Google didn't do the chatbot talking to a chatbot. The OpenAI did. So they scooped them. They scooped them hard, I would say.
Okay.
Scooped.
That wasn't what I thought you were talking about with the scooping. I will say that's a fun little experiment to run, a little scary because you can easily imagine different prompts for the little robots, and you'd be curious where they would go. I'm sure people have done that with the API, though. Half of Googleo was telling us to go use the API, not just the web app, but please go use the APIs also. And GPT-4o is also in the API level. So I guess we could do our own little demo with our own little bots. One will be named Frank, the other will be named James, and we'll just have them talk tech for 30 minutes. Let's see what happens.
Boom. All right, talking about switching paces here. We got upcoming, we got Build, we got WWDC. Recently I've been playing a lot around with .NET Aspire, which is a cloud native stack for building applications with .NET. Have you explored the Aspire at all?
I have to admit I have not, only because I'm very delicate with how I use my Azure, and I haven't wanted to jump into the deep end because the one thing I've learned the most out of Aspire is that it is stupidly powerful. In 3 lines of code, you can like spin up a machine that does a thing, then does other things. And then in 6 lines of code, you can have a loop and do whatever. I don't know. Actually, does it support loops? Whatever. I do like how declarative it is for setting up your infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I like using my cannon metaphor. It's a cannon metaphor in a water gun fight. So for me, I have very simple server needs, but I do plan on at least trying it because, simple servers, they get complicated too eventually.
Yeah. I'd say there's 3 scenarios for Aspire, and this one I'm going to break down really quick in the next few minutes. If you have no idea what Aspire is, let me tell you in a nutshell, and then we can discuss from there. So scenario 1, Frank, you are a .NET developer, okay? And you want to build cloud native apps, and you want a full stack, you want an opinionated framework. .NET Aspire is for you. It's an opinionated framework that enables you to get orchestration, so sort of infrastructure as your code. You get a way of basically describing what services are in the code, what the projects are, and you can have the projects reference each other because it also has service discovery. So you can say, my front end has a reference to my back end, and they have these keys, And then automatically it will be able to discover them. So you don't have to pass around magical ports and local hosts and all that stuff. It'll figure it out for you automatically and set those variables. Additionally, it has a bunch of service defaults. So it'll scaffold out open telemetry, it'll do testing, it'll do resiliency for you, all the cloud native bits and pieces that you could possibly want. And the cool part here is once you opt into these scenarios and you launch the app host that is orchestrating your projects together, it'll know how to spin up everything. So it can spin up your back end and your front end together, do all the service discovery, and boom. But it's more powerful because you can add in Aspire components like Redis or SQL or Postgres or different services you may need, whether they're in Azure and AWS or somewhere else. You can add in these components that basically do all the right things for you, and it knows automatically how to get the different containers you may need. So let's say you have a back end and a front end, and then you're using caching with a Redis cache, for example. You have the Redis cache component. You say, hey, my front end and my back end have a reference to the cache. It will download the container image, spin it up in Docker, and spin up all those things for you automatically, which is amazing. And of course, you can deploy that locally or anywhere you want. And then one of the best parts of what people mostly see with Aspire is the beautiful dashboard that gives you all the information, metrics, logs, stack traces, all these different things. So you can get that information during development time or even when you publish it, which is really cool. Now, of course, it's flexible. So you could publish to Grafana, Prometheus, Azure Monitor, all these metrics. It's just open telemetry. That's one scenario. You're like, I'm all .NET all the way down, baby. The other scenario is this. The other, all the way up and all the way down. The other scenario is that you are a .NET backend and you're a JavaScript front end. Now, what's really cool about Aspire is that you can actually add Node.js applications into the orchestration if you have .NET backends. Very, very popular, by the way. This is what a lot of people do. So actually, Aspire has support for that. So you get all that stuff that I just said, but you can add in your front end into the orchestration, which is cool. The third scenario is this, is I'm just a developer. I have an app. I would love to get all that beautiful dashboarding. I would love to get open telemetry data. And I'm using any programming language ever that open telemetry supports. I'm talking C++. I'm talking Python. I'm talking Java. I'm talking JavaScript. I'm talking Rust, baby. I'm talking .NET too. Don't you worry, Frank Krueger. The Aspire dashboard is standalone. It's a container image, which means you can integrate open telemetry into your existing application, pipe the data into it, okay, for development purposes, so you can get deep insights, so you can actually get insight into your application and look at those monitors and things and stuff like that. So there's three different pieces inside of here, right? There's the I'm all in, there's the I'm half .NET, half JavaScript, and then there's the I just want a dashboard for local development, things like that, which is pretty cool. And the dashboard can be deployed separately, or of course you could use like Azure Monitor or other things that you could pipe the data into. Whoa, that's all the scenarios, baby.
Okay. Are you practicing for a talk? I feel like you're practicing for a talk.
I've given a bunch recently.
You've done it. You've done it. Okay. I do like a dashboard. You had me a dashboard.
You had me. That's the thing, is the dashboard is pretty. It's visual. It's all these things. I have a video on YouTube. It's 12 minutes. Go watch it, where I talk about you have an existing app. I'll show you how to orchestrate it, do all the things. The tooling's great. You can use VS Code, full support now, full stop. Really awesome with it. Anywhere you're at. I'm sure Rider has support, because it's Rider. There's like the next day they have support. I'm all in. I'm not even a cloud native type of guy. You know what I mean? I'm not even a web dev, but I'm all in on the Aspire train, and I'm excited about it. That's all I got to say.
Cool. Well, I just upgraded my ASP.NET sites to 8, so I might as well hop on the latest and the greatest. So I'll definitely check it out at least.
I think the thing is that even if you start to use like the app host and service stuff in your application, and you don't use anything else, right? You integrate open telemetry into your app, and like you just use it only for local development. You like conditionally compile out everything else. It'll make you be able to debug your applications better. That's what I've just realized, is like I've missed out on this world of telemetry, and I've known about open telemetry forever, but I've just ignored it.
Sure.
And then .NET Aspire was like, hey, I'll just do it for you. And that's the type of framework I like, Frank. It's like It's like UI kit. It's like, we'll just do it for you. You know what I mean? Just beautiful.
I'm honestly going. Sorry, old man story. Going back like 20 years on the web, there used to be these like very simple CGI bin apps that would give you all that kind of telemetry stuff in real time, and it would stream it very nicely. And everyone used to put it on their servers, except that it used to have a million backdoors and a million security vulnerabilities. And so everyone has removed it from their servers nowadays. But it used to be awesome. Like we used to have these kinds of things all the time. So it's good to see a nice modern version that everyone likes. Open telemetry, everyone. Oh, right.
Open telemetry. All right. Topic number 4. You and I talked about in our exclusive Patreon bonus podcast episodes. Patreon.com/murderconflict.fm. You can give us money. I'm going retro, Frank. You know, I went retro with the game consoles.
I still want to be on the record. I love you for that. I love your funny little console fixation.
I love it. I have one over here. I got my little Game Boy flippy top one. I think there's a new one that's even more powerful. We have decided, Frank, as a family, and if you're on the YouTube, you can watch this. We've gone retro MP3 players.
MP3 players? Like in 1999, 9,000? Boy, oh boy. That looks like a Zune. Almost the dimensions are wrong, but everyone tune into the video. He has powder blue looking Zune in his hand.
It's beautiful. These things are $20. They have 16, 32, 64 gigs of a memory card that I'm sure will be great. Some of them have Bluetooth, some of them have USB, some have audio out, some of them have a touchscreen. We decided we're going to do a trial run. So let's report back how this goes. Is that we used to pay for YouTube Premium, which gave us YouTube Music. We also have Sirius XM in our car, which you can also use to stream and stuff. But we're trying to figure out and trim back our digital footprint for streaming. Basically, we want to save on the bandwidth, saving the planet on bandwidth. Is we have a whole bunch of our old CDs that we have as MP3s, and we're like, okay, well, is the music selection that Heather and I both have, if we just load up this MP3 player, good enough to chuck into the car, play it, and we're good to go? You know what I mean?
Right.
It has a little speaker on it. Is it enough? I know it's not new music, but we could buy albums. You could own, you back in our day, Frank, I don't know if you know, you used to go to the store and you used to buy books, music, movies, and you would own them. You didn't just license them out for entering your subscription, but you actually own them. You own them, which is wild.
You are gonna own your music. Okay, so you're not gonna go the full pirate lifestyle. That was my first assumption. You get the MP3 player, I just assume you're gonna get an eye patch and you're gonna say "I'm 80." But you're not doing that. Cool. You're gonna own the music. I can't wait for you to go to every thrift store that's still open. Actually, you can probably get quite a good music collection for probably a pretty reasonable price. People are probably constantly looking to get rid of their CDs and everything right now.
It's totally true. I was just at like the St. Vinny's, which is like our Goodwill, and every CD is only 99 cents. And they have like some decently newer music. I mean, which is wild because people just don't want them. I'm sure it's not like the most recent because I know there's not tons of new CD purchasing, but 2000s, 2010s, people are buying CDs.
Plus, if you want to go full hipster, since you're getting an MP3 player, what I recommend you also do is get a turntable with analog cables, get a little analog to digital converter, plug that into your computer, copy your vinyl records into MP3s, put those onto an MP3 player, and then make sure you tell everyone who you run into that that's how you listen to your music. And then I think you've hit peak.
Well, what I actually purchased a year ago, I didn't use, as I actually bought a cassette tape player.
No, you didn't.
I did. It was $5 on Amazon.
Not nice. Oh my God.
It was the same color blue. Same color blue. I went thrifting and I bought some cassettes. And I did a little
bit fun, but they probably didn't work well.
No, and then here's the thing. It's not a fun experience at the end of the day. So I was like, this is actually even worse. Like MP3s, it's almost the same as like finding a track and going, go.
Look, I'm giving you a hard time, but these are great little players. They have an FM receiver in them. How have we had iPhones for this long and they don't have an FM receiver in the iPhone?
I know.
Okay,
I know.
yeah, I grew up in the 80s, everyone. I want my FM transmissions, even though I live on an island and I barely receive them. There's still a little bit of a signal out there that I can receive, and it would be nice to get that. They're really cute. They're really cute devices. I can't believe that there are so many Amazon reviews for little $20 MP3 players. What is going on in the world? People are tired of $1,000 iPhones. I think this is a little bit of a ebb and flow of the tech culture. What is old is new again, I guess.
People are buying. There's a market. Now so here's the thing is like Heather and I talked about, it's like we can't just go out and really buy a new Zune or a new iPod. Like the iPod Touches, they're too much. You know what I mean? I just want something that plays music. Like give that to me. It doesn't exist. It really doesn't exist.
Yeah, okay. I'm still worried about interfaces. I'm curious. I think that there are Bluetooth models. I would still need Bluetooth. I'm not gonna have wires. I'm a little bit afraid of like having to sync my music to something again. I haven't synced my music in a long time. I don't know if I remember how. Do you remember that podcasts were invented for this very problem? You would download the episode at night, it would sync to your device, and you would disconnect your device in the morning.
Yeah,
those were the dark ages. But I'm glad you're running the experiment because honestly, I'm very interested. I might have to run the experiment myself.
Here's the thought.
Okay.
Here's the thought, really quick for the use case, because I want to make sure it's very clear. Yeah. I think the use case is I have some music and I put it on this device and I just hit play random music. And it just shuffles like Spotify, like the new, and it just goes through whatever. And I can skip if I want. I think that is used. You remember the iPod? Was the one with, it was just a button. The iPod Nano? A little clip?
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah, there were two Nanos. There was the long skinny Nano, and then there was the little clippy one. I forget.
Little clippy one. I'm looking at it more like that because I'm not going to search music. I'm not going to search artists most likely on it. I'm going to plug it and go, right? When I listen to
random music,
Sirius XM, I listen to the radio. It's random music. So we're just going to go and we're going to see how that goes. I think if you try to use it like you would use Spotify or YouTube Music or iTunes or whatever, you might get upset because it's not a good interface. I'm looking at it and it's like, I can't believe someone coded this.
Sure.
But
at the same time, I'm seeing some of them have battery lives of 50 hours. Eat your heart out, iPhone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Give
me a 50-hour iPhone, Apple, and we'll talk innovation.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. All right, next topic. Frank's surprise is on the list. What is this?
This one's a bit nerdy. Of course it is. It's my topic, but I wanted to bring it up. It's a funny little story. You know my favorite performance analysis tool on the Mac, James. What is it called? Come on.
Instruments.
Instruments. You got it. Yes. My absolute favorite. Mac people, we live a privileged life. We have instruments. It's a great little program. I mean, honestly, the Visual Studio performancing has gotten really good. But anyway, Xcode. I'm in the performance tool, doing my performance thing, checking things out, trying to make sure my app is fast. It's important. Yeah. It's important to me. And I'm clicking, and I'm like, gosh, I think I've clicked everything. But I'm like, still trying to like narrow down like exactly what is causing a few slowdowns, or I'm trying to get a full idea of things. And I'm just clicking in menus. I'm going up to the main menu bar, and you're like, oh, there's what buttons haven't I clicked in this app? And I click a random button. It's called Show Inspector. And a good proper Mac app has an inspector. So whatever the selected object is, a little tool window changes into like a little property viewer, a little property editor. That's called an inspector. Yeah. A good Mac app has an inspector. So I'm expecting to see an inspector. I do not see an inspector. The craziest thing on the planet happens, James. And I tell you this as someone who has seen a lot of crazy things in software. I've seen it all. I've worked on every kind of app in the planet. A Lisp interpreter comes up in front of me. You're shaking your head. I want people on the podcast to know you're shaking your head because Lisp?
What is happening?
What? Yeah. So like this whole programming environment comes up. Do you remember when you used to like accidentally click the wrong button in Excel and like VBA would come up?
Yeah. Well, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. What happened?
God. No, I don't want to save. No, cancel. Well, that's what happened to Instruments. So I've always known Instruments was this weird app that was a very pluggable interface, and like you could never just say like, give me a CPU report. It's like, do you want a CPU report plus a memory thing, plus a this and plus a that, and plus we'll analyze the GPU. And it was always this weird pluggable thing. And it turns out that whole pluggable thing is all user extendable through this insane programming environment using the Lisp programming language, of course, because it is the 1950s best language we have. And even better than that, talking about AI, I'm bringing this full circle now. We're going back 2 AI winters ago. We're talking 1980s AI. Ready for this? It's called an expert system. Ever hear of one of those?
No, I did not know.
They were going to change everything. We had solved computers. These are what were going to run hospitals. These were going to diagnose patients. These were going to be your auto mechanic is going to use an expert system. The idea was if I just give a bunch of facts to a computer, the moon is round, people have a heart, cars have engines, facts. And then I give a bunch of other kind of relative things like, I don't know, whatever. Chevys have one engine. I don't know. More data. Just keep giving these things facts. And then actions, how you can mutate that world. That's called an expert system, this giant database. And from that, you could query it. There was even a whole programming language called Prolog for querying these things. So we had a very fancy AI query language called Prolog. And you could say, all right, given that my Chevy is making a puttery sound, how do I fix it? And by reversing all the facts and all the rules, it would come up with an answer. You can imagine people were not anticipating how complex the real world is, and they could not quite gather enough facts. And some people blame expert systems for creating the second AI winter, when everyone just said, AI, we're bursting this bubble. We are done with AI. We've been lied to enough. For 5 years, you said expert systems were going to revolutionize computers. They haven't. Nothing's actually progressed from there. And so that is kind of the end of the story. It's a big ironic story because here I am in Apple's development environment in 2024. A 1950s programming language is brought up in front of me running a 1980s AI in order to diagnose the performance of my app. And I just wanted to share that story with everyone because I thought it was super silly and it brought me joy.
Wow. I love it. I love story time with Frank. That's good. That's a amazing story. I love when you also randomly, accidentally, almost intentionally though, stumble upon something that is so brilliant and so mesmerizing that you can't hold it back and yet share it with people, which is brilliant. So thank you for sharing that story with us, Frank. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm going to go try it now when I get back to my Mac.
And if you're interested, it's called the CLIPS, CLIPS programming environment. I don't know, expert system, AI. I don't know what you call these things. CLIPS, expert system. Go look it up. Get a good kick from the 80s. Put a big smile on your face.
Oh, I love it. Talking about big smiles and frowns and joy and all around a lot of emotions, I would say, is May 1st, Frank, was the day. I don't know if you know, it was an important day in our lives. It was the official end of life support for Xamarin, Xamarin Forms, all the SDKs as they move into the full-fledged world of .NET and .NET MAUI and all the good stuff they've evolved. But the Xamarin SDKs, all the stuff archived. I was there. We woke up early. Actually, I slept in a little bit, but they did the archiving a little too early. It was like 6 a.m. I said, I can't be up that early, So I said, I'm asleep in. But I hung out, I chatted, we had a big chat in there. And then something magical happened, Frank. I don't know if you watched the internet in the last few weeks, but specifically about 2 weeks ago, when a special hashtag started to trend, which is hashtag Xamarin gave me. And the community I love so much that we've been so close to, didn't poo-poo the end of life. They celebrated the end of life with all of the amazing things that have happened in the decade plus, many years, decade, 15 years, whatever it's been, so many years since the origins of Monotouch, Mono for Android, Xamarin, and all the things. So I want to ask you, Frank, what has hashtag Xamarin gave you?
Oh, hey, okay. Well, this is a long subject. We should devote at least 20 episodes to the sunsetting of Xamarin and all the Xamarin stuff. But I will say I did post a very saccharine tweet. We were all in a very sweet mood. It was, you can't be angry. We've been warned about it for enough years now. There's no point in being angry. Oh no, Xamarin's gone away. No one told me this.
What just happened? Who said what?
But at the same time, you're still like, God, I do need to upgrade some CI server. I do need to fix a build, but okay. So Xamarin gave me my saccharine tweet was, it's been the best development community I've ever been a part of. It started with a bit of the Mono community and grew from there to take on a lot of mobile developers who had a lot of interesting backgrounds. And it's definitely the largest and best development community I've ever been a part of. So the whole Xamarin thing just made me think of the community. It's nice when a product can make you think of a community. So that was my personal reaction to it all. That was Xamarin gave me for me.
It gave me you, Frank Kruger. Gave me this podcast with you.
I guess I should have remembered you.
Wow.
You're in there. You're part of the community, James.
I would say, without Xamarin and without, Miguel, Nat, and Joseph and the entire engineering team, everyone, the PMs and the designers and the sales, everyone that I worked with, it gave me so much, right? It gave me a job before I worked at Xamarin. Building gave me an opportunity to continue building with .NET and C#, the languages and frameworks and runtimes that I love so much. And it gave me this opportunity to tap in this brand new space that I thought would be untappable with my skills. And it gave me a career, gave me a new career, I would say, from jumping from engineer to advocate. Gave me a chance to ride in Nat's plane. Which was so cool with Heather. We got to fly it. That's really cool. It gave me an amazing opportunity to meet so many amazing friends that I have until this day, not only in the community, but that I work with. And I decided, let me meet you at the Xamarin Drink Up in Bellevue. I met us, started a user group. I met my wife.
The user group.
Through Xamarin, not the company, just through the sessions and talks and things. I met Heather. It gave me my job here at Microsoft, which is honestly has changed my life. The whole thing has changed my life in so many ways. I wouldn't be the person I am without Xamarin. I wouldn't be where I'm at in my life without Xamarin. I would have met so many amazing people without Xamarin up until this day. And I continue to meet amazing people every time I give a talk, every time I am online, whenever we have amazing podcast folks that write into the show. And it still lets me be creative in a whole different way in a form factor that I love so much. It changed me for who I am for the greater good, in so many ways. I think I continue to hear those stories, right? And see these stories on Twitter. And I know your story. We did the whole time in Life and Time and Frank Kruger, right? And it's a magical moment in so many ways. I think I look back on so many memories of my time at Xamarin, before Xamarin, after Xamarin, and all of them were amazing. Like the whole aspect from the moment that I stumbled upon Xamarin up until where we're at now, that the whole lineage, is amazing. And beyond that, even though one door shuts, a whole nother door opens. So how I look at it is, it is, Xamarin gave me not only the opportunities of the past, but it was giving me the opportunities in the future. And so here's the thing is, I'm imagining my life where I wasn't able to go down this path of using .NET on iOS and Android and build my career and do these things to where I'd be at today, right? Would I have left .NET? Would I have done something else? Where now we're in this whole space where I can continue to be a .NET developer and build this AI application, this cloud native application, and be so embedded and so deep into what's happening in the world of .NET and the community around it. Is great. I mean, I remember the Xamarin Dev Summit in Houston I remember the Xamarin Evolves. All those moments. Xamarin gave me memory dividends of a lifetime that I'll never forget. That's for sure. And just like you said, I think that the people, I think, are the pivotal point of it. Product's a product, but the people around the product are magical. That's for sure.
Yeah. I still have my IRC friends that I still have backroom messages with on Twitter. Just still DMing each other just like we were on IRC so many years ago.
So good.
And yeah, the technology, it taught me a lot about binding to native libraries. I know more about that than I ever want to. That's my life.
I know more about Objective C than I'd ever want in my entire life. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, iOS.
Well, what did Xamarin give you? Right into the show. Let us know. Maybe we'll read some back. What did this podcast give you? What did #MergeConflict give you?
Whoa. Way to make it about us.
Yeah. It is all about us. You can also become a Patreon, patreon.com/MergeConflict.fm. You can get bonus podcasts, get the episodes early. You follow us on YouTube. We do this live. You can see our beautiful faces. And you can write to the show. Just go to mergeconflict.fm and let us know what topics you'd like to see anytime, and we will try to do them. But that is going to do it for this week's Merge Conflict. So until next time, I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Kruger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.